Hi, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. I hope you enjoyed this Game Industry Insight, a look behind the scenes at game development. And be sure to subscribe and you can pitch future video topics. Alright everybody, for today's Industry Insight, we're going to be talking about the topic of streaming games. This is based on the post over on Game Wisdom that I'll link below. It's a few days old by the time you're watching this video, but that's just because I haven't been feeling too well. But when it comes to the idea of streaming and recording game footage, this, as you are no doubt aware, has exploded in popularity over the last few years. With Twitch, YouTube, and probably even more services as we're talking, growing because of it. And from the post, as we've seen, the ability to record game footage has gone from being, simple demos, a few minutes of video, to completely original pieces using game footage, let's plays, walkthroughs, playthroughs, tutorials, and even no commentary runs of games. And for developers, this presents another effective tool for marketing their game. Getting your game in front of the eyes of big name streamers and YouTubers is essentially free marketing for you, as we've seen when the likes of Markiplier, PewDiePie, Total Biscuit, and more take a look at some indie game. And as we've seen in the last few years, that has also become major business, with many YouTubers charging money or getting the contracts with developers agreeing to promote these games. And this has certainly raised a lot of discussions regarding the ethical side of these things. Sorry about that, my voice is slowly but surely dying on me as we're talking. But for today's industry insight, the challenge or the discussion is about whether or not gamers are entitled to stream games. And this can certainly cause some very interesting discussions on both sides of the table. As we've talked about, a major part of YouTube and Twitch and any kind of original content is the Fair Use Act, or just simply fair use. And that is protection that content creators have for using someone else's work in a unique or original way. And chances are, if you've watched anyone on YouTube over the last few years, you've probably heard the transformative factor being used. The transformative factor basically dictates that if someone takes a property and uses that content in a completely original way beyond the original scope of the work, then they are transforming it into something original and thereby being under fair use. This is very much a favorite practice or a favorite defense for anyone who puts up let's plays or any videos on game design. Their thoughts is that because they are adding to this game, whether it's by their own commentary, splicing game footage, or anything like that, that it's going beyond the original work. And as we've said, this has become very big business for everyone involved. We've already talked about from the game developer side, but when it comes to the YouTubers or streamers, they of course get ad revenue, they get people flocking to their channel, they get subscribers, and the like. But the question remains though, is this still considered fair? Is every video game entitled to be streamed? Now, as we've said, the transformative factor of fair use is commonly cited as a defense. But the question is that always a given? And there are some good examples of when it's not. From my post, we talked about the idea that there are plenty of games out there that are meant to be replayed. Roguelikes, games built on the player's own action or customization. But there are also games that are designed around a single playthrough, narrative-driven games, art games, anything that basically this is meant to be experienced one time, or you can really only experience it once. And the question is, are those games, or should those games be streamable? For instance, if someone just streams every cutscene from a Final Fantasy game, then would someone want to buy the game if they've already seen all the cutscenes? An example that was brought up is from The Witness, Jonathan Blow's latest puzzle game. And that game is strictly built on a single playthrough. You are learning the puzzles. They never change at all. So no matter how much you as the YouTuber or the streamer adds, it still doesn't replace the fact that everyone's playthrough of the game is technically going to be the same. There's only one way to solve a puzzle, one path through the game, and yes, there are multiple endings, but it's not anything that you can do uniquely that's going to determine it. This is different from a game like The Darkest Dungeon, where the variety of different party builds, the strategies, and stuff like that can be different from person to person, and you can inject a lot of your own personality into that playthrough. But if you're playing something like The Last of Us or Uncharted, where again, it is a very linear experience, how much do you really add to that? And more importantly, do you add enough for it to be considered transformative? For instance, again, like a game like Super Mario Maker, it is very transformative by the creativity that content creators put up, people who do speed runs, Kaizu, I'm sorry I just mispronounced it, plays, and the like. So even if 5 people upload Mario Maker footage, those 5 plays can be dramatically different. Just like if we play 5 different Binding of Isaacs, or Spelunky, or anything along those lines. And again, this goes back to the question that should every game be streamable? And I think for this part, I would have to argue no. Simply because there are some games where you can really only experience it one time, like that Dragon Cancer, Gone Home, Dear Esther, and so on. But the question though, but this also leads to another part, just how much control does a developer have? Now it's easy to say that they have full control, but does that mean they can just say that no one is allowed to stream or record any footage on my game forever? Then there's also the question of, should a developer be able to ask for royalties on streamed and recorded footage? But then of course that brings up the other debate of, if that's the case, then they should be paying YouTubers and streamers for marketing their game. And as we were talking about on Game Wisdom Live this past week, this is not an easy topic to talk about, because any little change we make in one area is going to cause problems in another. And this is one of the reasons why the game industry moves so quickly, is that it rarely establishes set guidelines across the board. Like we were talking about, it kind of felt like one day there was no such thing as streaming and Let's Play. The next day we have tons and tons of them. And a part of this problem is just how much does someone add to the play. As we were talking about, there is a very big difference between someone who streams a game that's just simply them staring at a screen going, yes, this is happening, versus someone who's explaining what's going on, splicing footage together, and just providing their own unique spin on a title. But as we said a few minutes ago, how much does that enhance a game if we're talking about a linear experience? Again, I don't have the answer to this, and I'm curious what you guys think below. Now, when it comes to streaming and Let's Plays, there is one part I want to touch on. This is for the developers watching this. For those of you who are designing your own game right now, chances are, for the vast majority of you, it's going to be beneficial for you to let people stream and record footage of your game. Again, this is basically free marketing for you. But for those of you who are designing a set experience, again, narrative-driven or an art game, you do have to ask, or you do have to ask yourself, how much should I let people take apart my game in this manner? And like we said, unfortunately, there aren't any hard numbers about just how much should you show a game. As we've said, Let's Plays and streaming have replaced demos as the main form of basically showing a game off. And because of that, people now expect streams and Let's Plays. And if you go against the grain, that can come back to bite you. If you are the solitary voice that says no in a sea of yes, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. As we talked about with the Persona 5 debate from a few weeks ago, or I think it was maybe last week. But with that said, though, I want to come back to Persona 5 for a quick second, because I think Atlus made another big mistake with that. Like I talked about, when they released the press release that was covering the streaming and recording guidelines, they kind of went against themselves when they said it. In one sense, they said that you are not allowed to share this game with anyone with the PS4 features, which would imply that you're not allowed to stream or record and stuff like that. But in the very next sentence, they said, well, if you do decide to record it, then you can't go this far. And that, I think, is a big problem. When you are defining what you can and can't show about a game, you have to be explicitly clear. For those of you who don't do anything with press relating to video games, as someone who gets press copies from developers, I will usually get an embargo list, or things that I can and can't show. And from that list, they spell it out very clear. They may say you can only show up to World 2. You may only record 10 minutes of footage. You may only show this, this, and this, but we don't want this, this, or this. But the point is, you have to be explicitly clear whenever you make these statements. Because once you've said this, it is law. The millisecond you say it's okay to stream my game, and you have no addendums to that, then everything and anything in your game is free for people to record, break down, show to people, etc. And that is a very big point. Like I said, when it comes to streaming and recording, it's another one of those parts of the game industry that has advanced rapidly. And without saying any concrete guidelines that are industry standard or industry standards, it becomes hard to enforce it. So for you developers out there, like I said, for the vast majority of you, chances are streaming is always going to be a net positive. But you have to understand just how much you are giving people when you say it's free to stream. If you, like I said, if you have a very unique boss fight or something very specific that you don't want people to spoil, then you have to spell that out there. You can't say everything is good to stream and then a week later come back and say, but we don't want to do this. Once the cat has been let out of the bag, that's it. Case closed, the law is set. But as developers, though, you do have the right to say yes or no to this. But for those of you watching this, what do you think about the idea of how long does a developer legitimately can control the content about their game? Like, can they say 2 months no one's allowed to stream my game? Can they say a year? Can they only say 1 day? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because again, it's a very tricky subject to cover. Now, one last point that I want to touch on, and that's for people who stream or record footage. One of the biggest no-nos when it comes to this kind of stuff is, of course, breaking embargo. If the developer does set something plain and clear about what you can and can't show, then it's up to you as professional courtesy to abide by that. And we always see that when a big game comes out that there are people who break street date or break embargo date. And that is not cool. Like I said, for me, I will, of course, abide by any and all embargoes set, and I have certainly done that. I've even gotten very paranoid about that in the past. I remember streaming or recording a game, and I posted it, and one of my friends who's also a streamer said, "Hey Josh, wait, was this game meant to be streamed?" I'm like, "Wasn't it?" And then I immediately rushed to my PR contact to just confirm that. But the idea is that when it comes to streaming and recording footage, it is a two-way street. The people who make the content, of course, get ad revenue and subscribers, and the developers get free marketing and, of course, a lot of buzz about their game. But, like we said, the question that is on everybody's mind is there a point where free and unfiltered access to a game hurts the game in the market rather than helps it? But again, I don't have the answer to that. But I am sure there's going to be a lot of discussions about this in the comments below. So let me know what you think about this, especially from both the developer side and for any YouTubers or streamers or even consumers who are watching this. But with that said, we're going to end things here for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new, be sure to like and subscribe and pitch any future topics you would like to see me cover. Check back daily for more great videos on game design and discussions here and on GameWisdom.com. Until next time, have a great night. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.